NASCAR goes ripping and rolling around the Roval. We give you our DFS tiers and best bets for Charlotte tonight on the Backroad.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checkered flag. That's all this race
Well, Seth, knowing how my last couple weeks have gone, I want to make sure you can hear me before we get rolling tonight.
I gotcha.
All right. I forewent listening to our wonderful intro song to make sure my shit worked at the start of the show. But all right, everyone, this is the Backroad. It's in between medias, NASCAR Fantasy DFS and Daily Fantasy and all your other kind of fantasy show. Backroad After Dark here tonight. Thanks for joining us a little later than normal. Elliot Hicks and Seth Woolcock with you. Seth, man, exciting race at Talladega, and we are headed back to the Roval this week as the playoffs just keep rumbling on, and the season is coming to a close.
Yeah, Elliot, this week has been a mixed bag for me from the very start. Huge win in fantasy football over the weekend. Big week for the kid. Dega did not go as planned, as usual at these super speedways when you're trying to bet on them. And then, like, vibes were high all week from the fantasy wins. I was feeling good. And then today I get the news, my Xterra, it ain't going to pass inspection. So I got to let something go here. Picked up some Khalifa Kush, though, to drown out the pain a little bit. So I'm feeling good now. I'm ready to talk a little NASCAR because not only do we have the fucking Roval, which is a great track, but we also have an elimination race at the Roval.
Oh, yeah. Gotta love this show. Gives you a nice little escape from reality, and hopefully we can do the same for everyone watching as we do for ourselves. Always a lot of fun. Let's take a look back at Talladega in the rear view. So, as we've always come to expect from the super speedways, a lot of cars get torn up. We have a green-white checkered, real close finish at the end, and perhaps the master of the really close finish at Talladega, Ryan Blaney, gets his third Talladega win. Ruined the feel-good story of Kevin Harvick getting a win there, but the 12 car gets to victory lane and punches his ticket to the round of 8.
Yeah, man, hats off to Ryan Blaney. He's always just in the right place at the right time. And I think we had him right at the end of our top tier for drivers last week, Elliot. And I think, he always belongs there when we're going to super speedways like this, especially has a knack for Talladega. So hats off to him. But a lot of these other playoff drivers kind of got boned, especially we were hot on Ross for once coming into it. I think the whole group was, and that should have been a red flag to start. And just a terrible day for him. He's crashing right at the end of segment 1 after trying to get some stage points. So bad day for him. Bad day for Brad Keselowski, who we were on. This did not go like Daytona did. Let's just say that.
No, definitely not. I mean, that really wasn't Ross's fault. Stenhouse runs out of fuel with half a lap to go. And gets into the 8, and the 1 car is like, oh, free spots. Oh, no, wait, no, I'm crashed and done for the day. So Ross in a tough spot, Kyle Busch in a tough spot. Exciting finish at Dega. Anytime my guy Bowman is up front late in a race, especially at Dega, coming from the Dale Jr. to Bowman. But hey, if he was 1/10 the super speedway racer as Dale, maybe that 48 steals the show for the checkered flag. But of course, I'm going to look at things with my Ally purple tinted glasses, kind of like that light in your background there, Seth. But it's always nice to be excited at the end of a race. And like we said about Harvick, just the wrong place, wrong time, didn't quite get the help. How about Riley Herbst, though, in that beautiful white 36 car? Good run all day and really had a shot to win. Couldn't quite push the 4 past the 12 at the end. But damn, that was fun to watch too.
Riley Herbst saved so many of my lineups from like being in the minus money because I threw him in a bunch of them. He was kind of, the value play of the week for me. And he comes out to play, and like shout out to the other guys we kind of saw come out of nowhere. Corey LaJoie, we got a little life from LaJoie and that number 7 Inspire car. That was cool. Ryan Preece back in the top 10. Justin Haley as well. We haven't seen any life out of Haley in that car in a while as well. Of course, Chase Briscoe fucks us over once again. We finally bet on him for the first time this year, and he gets 13th. We were looking for a top 10 there. So kind of abysmal day, honestly, other than our Daniel Suarez over Austin Dillon bet. That one felt good. I know you and Rod were teasing me for going more than a full unit on that one, but Austin Dillon, man, he's the fade target right now, Elliot.
Hey, glad that one worked out for you. And hey, if you remember in Talladega Nights, Ricky Bobby finished ahead of Cal Naughton Jr. quite often, so that makes sense. The 41 was ahead of the 14 with those gorgeous paint schemes. And funny you mentioned Suarez. I've got a little bit of notes about him later in the show, funny enough, for the Roval, so make sure to stay tuned for that. May as well transition into that. Let's take a look at the horizon forecast for the week.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
So we are back in NASCAR's home turf, the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval, one of the more exciting races on the schedule, not only for its good racing, but because it's been placed as an elimination race in the playoffs, which always ups the ante.
Yeah, man. I think these elimination races, sometimes they get a little chaotic. We saw the Roval get very chaotic at the end last season, but they're fun. And they're a fun experience. And I think putting a road course in the playoffs like this is a lot of fun. And I think actually Watkins Glen next year, Elliot, we had the schedule release. We can chat a little bit about that later too. I know you're gonna have an article come out this weekend about it, but I think it's just, it needs to be done, and I'm happy it's here. The Roval is always interesting, kind of being a little combo track as well.
Yeah, and it was interesting because there was a lot of chatter because the Charlotte Oval puts on such good racing with the next gen. And, there's obviously more road courses to be added. We thought maybe they were going to go to Montreal, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, a road course. We thought maybe this was the end of days for the Roval, not to be for next year. The Roval is back. And part of the reasoning was they want to make the Coke 600 a really hot ticket. This is the only time all year you're going to get to see them on the Charlotte Oval with this great racing, as if it's not already enough of a marquee event. So I get the reasoning there. And really, I can't argue. Both the Oval and the Roval at Charlotte has always put on great racing. The Roval has been chaotic since the beginning. That first race there, the finish with Truex and Jimmy, Blaney gets the win, a wrecked Larson riding the wall to advance the playoffs to pass one more car. Just chaos all around. And I'm sure we'll see more of the same. 11 of the 12 guys in a position to realistically point their way in, and never count out Kyle Busch, even though he's minus 20 something. KFB, Rod was fading KFB hard, wasn't the best finish to Talladega. But you can't ever count out a racer of that caliber when his back's against the wall, can you?
Well, and I think that's the thing. A lot of these guys right around this cut line are the really good road course racers. We have Ross right in that range. We have Keselowski, who's looked good on road courses this season. And also, don't forget Tyler Reddick's right in that mix. He knows how to win here. We know Christopher Bell. He has a dub here. So, I think overall, man, like we're going to see some really good racing from these guys on the cut line. And I think with DFS, those are the guys I'm targeting a little bit heavier because I know at the end of the stages, they're going to try get maybe stage points rather than the win.
Right, because it's not just that everyone's close enough. My point I was trying to make, Byron and Blaney are locked in with the wins. Denny Hamlin's plus 50. Everyone else, a bad day can knock them out. That's what I was trying to say. Everyone is pretty close together there. So 8 or 9 drivers, everyone going for stage points, everyone going for the race win to try and lock themselves in. And it doesn't matter what anybody else does if you take that checkered flag first. So it will definitely be a lot more chaos at the Roval.
Yeah, let's look at some of the comp tracks here, Elliot. Of course, we're going to be looking at the road courses. It's interesting because I think the one debate right now in the industry this week is how much are you weighing that 5th road course, Chicago, if you call it a road course. Of course, we have COTA, Sonoma, Chicago, Indy road course, and Watkins Glen. So there's kind of 2 different data sets I was looking at this week. The one included Chicago, the one did not. But a lot of it's also looking at the Roval specifically because this is a very unique track. And there are some guys who just have it, man. Like Alex Bowman, we didn't get to see him race last season, but he number 1 in average starting position, number 1 in average finish position. He has a knack for it. Chase has a knack for it. So I think that's something to keep in mind here. Laps as far as the stage this week, 25, lap 25, lap 50, and lap 109 ends this son of a bitch. So not that crazy. I think if anything, maybe it's the stage 1 winner that could pull it out rather than the stage 2. We saw that last week with Blaney as well, with the extended stage and the back of it. Practice qualifying 12 and 1 o'clock on Saturday. Elliot, a couple of these trends I think we should be paying attention to as well is This is a track that used to be on that round of 16 elimination, if you remember, that third playoff race. Blaney and Chase won those. Chase has won it again in 2020, and then Larson in 2021, and Christopher Bell in 2022. How do you factor in these guys who have experience winning on this track? Do you like them a little bit more?
Yeah, so I do think you're right that the Roval is sort of its own beast. Obviously part oval, part Roval, part road course. But I am factoring in the other road courses as well. At the end of the day, there's a lot of differences. Coda is a very different track to Sonoma, very different track to the Glen, very different track to Indy, very different track to Chicago Street Course. But you still make lefts, you still make rights. You're still setting the car up generally in the same way, I would think. So the people who are going to be good on road courses are still going to be good at the Roval, even though we have those couple of anomalies sprinkled in. That's just kind of the fun of NASCAR racing and the fun of road courses. We have those anomalies at every sort of track, just maybe a little more pronounced when you're making both lefts and rights.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like that's really the key. Yes, we're going to be looking at Roval data, but also how they performed on these road courses. I'm kind of throwing recent form a little bit out the window coming into this one, just because it is such a unique track. And we also just got kind of through some weird tracks with Dega, Texas for the first time this year. Also something to keep in mind here, starting position is going to be huge at this track. We've only had 5 races here so far in the Cup Series. The winner has come from 9th, 19th, 2nd, 10th, and 8th. So that's 4 drivers who've won it coming from the top 10, Elliot. So I'm looking at guys like Bowman. I'm looking at guys like Chase a little bit harder this week, who at least I know they can qualify up there and have a shot at this thing.
Yeah, obviously. We talked about this last week at Dega. Qualifying in a place like a road course, you're going to get more chaos than you want in an intermediate. But the closer you start to the front, the easier it is to get to the lead. So can't argue with that.
Yeah, and how do you factoring in the stage breaks being back for this? Like, how does that factor in for things tonight?
Right, I had forgotten about that. There will be stage cautions, so that'll make it more of a traditional road course race that we had gotten used to. You'll see guys cycle pit strategy, probably be 2 different strategies. That'll be the most interesting part, is what do these playoff guys pick? I'm sure there will be some that will stay out, go for the stage points, and maybe it screws them at the end of the race. There'll be some that are like, fuck these stage points. Our best way to do it is get the checkered flag. That'll be fun to see.
Guys like William Byron, Ryan Blaney, I expect them to be on a similar strategy here, already having a win. Potentially same with Kyle Busch, who's also pretty much needs to win this thing as well.
I think we'll be seeing them come to pit road about 4 to go in those stages, 3 to go.
Yep.
Get there in front.
And I'm just happy to have the stages back, honestly. Like, I think some races like Watkins Glen and Sonoma, I'm cool with no stage breaks, because they're like the very traditional tracks here on the road course circuit for the Cup Series. But yeah, at some of these other newer ones, I do like the stage break, so I'm happy to have them back here. But it's definitely going to factor in here. Anything else, Elliot, to you that we haven't touched on, looking at trends and comp tracks?
Well, the tough part is about the stage breaks being back. I totally get it for entertainment value and racing value. But if the cars would race better and if the races would turn out better, not having the stage breaks, not having stage caution, just have the stage, yeah. But it's better to probably not have them for the racing integrity and things like that. You get to see more of a race play out.
Yeah.
A little longer, a little more interesting. But with the way that these next-gen cars have run on the road courses, this is something that needed to happen. So hopefully something that for next year, whatever changes we see, we don't have to do this again and can keep some more of that racing integrity in there, which normally I'm not one of those guys that sits on that soapbox. I like the playoffs. I like the tracks we're going to. I'm not one of those old school racing, stand on my soapbox and yell, this ain't the same as it used to be back in the day. But in this particular case, I'm looking forward to hopefully fixing that for next year for good.
You're telling me you aren't telling people to get off your lawns and pulling out shotguns on everyone?
Nah, not one of those guys yet. Maybe someday.
All right, fair enough. We're getting there, my friend. And let's go ahead, Ellie. What do you say we look ahead here, get a little more specific?
Yep, let's roll on to the DFS Tire Tiers of the Week. So on this week's entry list, it's the 36 chartered cars, as well as Seth's favorite team in the garage, Beard Motorsports, Austin Hill in the number 62. Andy Lally is in the 15 car, Zane Smith in the 38 this week, Mike Rockenfeller in the number 42 for Legacy Motor Club, Todd Gilliland's in the 51, Josh Balicki in the 78. And I know we don't talk a lot of Xfinity here, but I am so excited to watch Boris Said take probably his last run in NASCAR and probably the best car he's ever driven. He's stepping in the HendrickCars.com number 17 Hendrick Motorsports car in the Xfinity race at the Roval. The road course legend who has helped so many guys become better road course racers is back for one last time. He is plus 2,000 on Caesars, and boy, would it be fun if he could make that hit.
Man, Boris said, dude, that's a legend. That's a name you don't hear too often, but glad to hear it. Glad to have him back on the circuit this week, Elliot.
It'll be a lot of fun to watch in the warm-up to this Cup race. I'm sure a lot of us will keep half an eye on Xfinity just to see the sort of trends and how their race goes, since normally it can tell how the Cup Series race is going to go. All right, Seth, I'll give you the first pick this week. Who's starting off the A's?
Oh, man, like this is looking at the DraftKings price board. It's kind of gross, to be honest with you. It's kind of gross. I think everyone at the top of this board has a lot of warts. Chase Elliott, 10-5. I like Chase Elliott. Like I love the history here. I love the pedigree. I love the average start and finish. But okay, look, put Chase in this top tier. I think we can push him back towards the end of the top tier, but
he does belong there. I agree.
It's just so hard to pay up for a guy who's 10-5 and hasn't led any laps really since Chicago Street. That's really where I struggle a little bit with Chase. So that's why I think he should go here, despite having some of the best pedigree here on this track, Elliot. 2 wins, most by any active driver, 4 top 10s for him or 3 top 10s for him as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can argue with having Chase up here. Whether he stays as our 101 or we end up bumping him back a little later is to be determined. So with these road course numbers here, pulling up our speed chart from My Fantasy Race, one of our favorite sources all year long, a couple of untraditional names are tempting me here. I still like Chase as the first pick. Obviously, the other Hendrick cars are going to be good. I'm really feeling Tyler Reddick this week in the 45 car, so I'm going to throw him up there. We'll leave it to debate whether he should go in front of or behind Chase. And I know Reddick has been one of the streakiest guys out there, but at tracks he's good at, and when he's on, and that team is fast. He's second in the series, in the speed ranking here, 4th at Chicago, 3rd at Indy Road Course, best at Coda, which he won obviously. And he's one of those teams in a situation where a middling run in the mid-teens is probably not going to advance him to the next round. He's not in a whole lot of trouble, but it's one of those races where he's going to have to contend. They are going to come to play, both the 2311 cars. And Reddick, obviously being the more talented road course racer, is going to be a guy to watch.
Yeah, man, I went back and forth on Reddick all day, and I want to mix him in my card somehow. It's really tough because he does have a couple outlier races on these road courses this season where his finishes just weren't there. The speed was there, but just didn't get the finish for whatever reason. So I like Reddick, and I can't blame you, because if there's someone in this race who could be a dominator and get out to an early lead and just break the slate, it is Tyler Reddick. So I like that call there. Let's go with AJ Allmendinger. I would like him above Chase. And I think you can put Reddick above Chase as well here, Elliot. Man, talk about a guy who needs to get it done here in AJ Allmendinger. And this is another track he's actually really good at as well. 2022, last season, started 7th, finished 4th. 2021, he had some type of engine issue. And I think he blew it up here. Finished 33rd that day, started 36th. So a terrible weekend for him. But going all the way back to even 2018, when he was with JTG, started 2nd, finished 7th. I'll talk a little more in depth at how good he was at this track last season. But he had a chance to chase Elliott down for the win last year before all hell broke loose. So I think Dinger is as safe as it comes, and 9,000, you're getting him at a great discount everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, Allmendinger has been perhaps the trickiest pick of the year on road courses, because obviously the talent's there. He's won road course races in Cup. He's dominated them in Xfinity with Colleague. But just this season, something's been off, you know.
The finishes have not been there, yeah.
And there have been some races like Indy Road Course, he wasn't a factor all day. So Allmendinger, I mean, I'm the one who picked Reddick, a risky enough guy. Allmendinger at the top of the board too. Feels relatively risky to me, but we do know that the outright talent is there. And he's a guy who definitely can run up front, get yourself a nice little top 10 at a relative discount, like you said, on the DraftKings price.
Here's what I'll say about my thoughts on this entire team heading there is after AJ realized he wasn't making the playoffs at Daytona, colleagues had this race circled. I imagine a lot of sim time for AJ, as well as Justin Haley, who had a top 5 run here last season as well. So I think they've had this one circled, and they're going to try to go after it here.
Yeah, and I mean, Haley's run at the Chicago Street Course probably really circled him as, hey, maybe I'm better at road courses than I thought or than everybody else. So it'll be interesting for Colleague for sure. So I will probably throw up another Hendrick guy, a little less risky with Kyle Larson.
Yep.
I don't know if he's above or below Chase because I think it's the same sort of deal. The speed is there. The finish is not so much. He's just below Chase in the total speed rankings, 9th in the series this season, 2nd at Chicago, but that's the one that's the biggest outlier compared to the other 4. But what we've really talked about is a lot of chaos happening at this race, perhaps unexpected winners for a guy really going for it to be in the playoffs. This also feels like one of those races that you see a good bit of chaos, you see a good bit of craziness, and then Kyle Larson leads the last 35 laps and wins. He's obviously the most talented driver in the series right now. Still going for that championship, obviously. So the 5-car running up front, almost a given here. We'll just see how well he does.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think we can throw the 24 up in this as well. Just continues to find ways to make himself a threat at the end of this. I mean, last week, man, it came out of nowhere at Talladega, and the price is high. It's 10-2, but William Byron has also been very fast here in the past. Actually, he has one of the best starting positions on average here as well. So I think William Byron, you can't go wrong with him. I'm trying to think who else belongs in this top tier here, Elliot, because there's definitely one I have on my list. Is there anyone else for you before you want to drop down?
Yeah, it is pretty slim pickings here. And the thing with Byron, he's arguably the championship favorite, I feel like right now, or at least up there in the top 2 or 3. It's going to be hard to get a discount on him anywhere because they're going to be expecting him to run up front regardless. But go ahead and throw up who you have because I don't have anybody that really stands out to me here.
I think Christopher Bell. The win was fluky. Let's be honest. The win was a little fluky.
Right. But that is exactly the kind of win that we arguably expect to see is a guy with his back against the wall who's talented, who's going to go out there and get it done. He did it twice at facing elimination last year.
Yeah, I think, 100%. 6 in total speed ranking that day. Did have some nice late run speed, 4th, and had the fastest car in that last 25% of the race as well. So had a good run. I think he's safe. He's a safe play for me. Doesn't jump off the board, but at 9,500, like I'd rather pay almost for him. I almost think at 9,500 maybe than a guy like Byron or Larson. Just personally, I think there's maybe a little more consistency just at this track. But Chris Bell's kind of just now starting to find his speed. It went away for a long time this summer.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely at the point where they need to pick it up. Can't argue with him as an A-. I think it's a good time to crack open the Bs, and I'm going to do that with a driver whose last name starts with B, Chris Buescher. And we can't say enough about Buescher. He and RFK have jumped out as one of the favorites this year. And on the road courses especially is where it's been surprising. 6th in the series in speed ranking, 2nd at Sonoma, 6th at Chicago. Obviously, it hasn't all gone perfectly. But, a couple of road courses were in that run of top 10s, top 11s that he had in the late summer. And that 17 car, I don't know that Buescher's going to be up there for the win. I don't have his DraftKings price in front of me right now. If he's overpriced, then I totally get him being mid to low B tier. But Buescher in the B tier, I think, is fair for the week, given his pedigree that he has developed this year on the road courses.
Yep, I'm with you there 100%. Throw Ty Gibbs up there as well. I mean, I did not know how good of a road course driver Ty Gibbs was coming into this Cup Series, man. It has been impressive to watch. Looking at all the road courses this season, including Chicago, he's top 5 in total speed ranking. That includes the 2nd fastest at the Glen, our most recent road course. So Ty Gibbs is figuring it out on these road courses, and I feel like a guy like him who's younger, the stage breaks benefit him. Let him readjust, let him collect himself, and then go out there and try to get this win. So at the price you're getting Ty Gibbs on DraftKings this week, $8,000, sign me up.
He must not have watched his Xfinity debut then a couple years back at the Daytona road course where he went first start and beat him. I feel like that kind of put him on the map as one of those, hey, maybe this guy doesn't suck at road courses kind of thing, even though he didn't quite have that sort of pedigree because ARCA doesn't go to a whole lot of road courses, I don't think. But Ty Gibbs, underrated road course racer and pretty good too. 5th in total speed ranking, 2nd at Watkins Glen in the series this year. So at 54, crazy young kid at a road course. Going to be good trying to go play spoiler up there. I don't hate that at all.
Yeah, 100%. Who else for you here in the B? Because we still have some really strong road course drivers here, Elliot.
Yeah, I think this is probably the spot to throw Michael McDowell.
Yep.
You know,
Yep. Thank you.
He'll be another guy looking to play spoiler. Best in the series at the road course speed ranking this year. One of those guys that, obviously the team is still probably readjusting their mindset to, hey, we're going to go out there, get a championship to, well, it's over for us, but we still got good runs to have. And McDowell, I think, is going to look to close out his season on a high note and what could be his last chance to win this year, at least last semi-realistic chance to.
Yeah, 8th in the total speed ranking here last season for McDowell, 3rd fastest late in the run. And this is another team, after he was out of the playoffs, they probably had this race circled, and they knew if they want to get another W for this front row team, it's got to be through Michael McDowell here at the Roval. So I love that call, Elliot. I am also digging Justin Haley. I think maybe I'm a little too high on Haley there, but talk me down from Haley, because looking at what finished 5th here last year, was 5th before the chaos, 2nd in total speed ranking that day, 5th fastest late in a run. And he's been dog shit on all these other road courses this season, except Chicago. He was brilliant. Yes, part of that was the rain and the pit strategy. But man, led 100% of laps in the top 15 and was 4th in drive rating. His loop data jumps off the charts here. I don't think it's a fluke. He's coming off a top 10. Can you talk me out of Justin Haley for the price of $6,700?
That's a good price, and I don't know that I have anything strong enough to talk you out of it, but you're right. Chicago, far and away the best. Total speed ranking this year on all road courses, he's 26th in the series, 20th, 27th, 30th, 38th, his other speed rankings there. But my only other thing would be a nice little, put the tinfoil hat on and say Colleague's going to be all in on Dinger and isn't going to be too worried about Haley with him going out the door. But then again, anytime I say that, I feel like I kind of get flipped the other way, and the guys who I talk down end up doing well. So
Haley's been good lately. Haley's been actually pretty good these last 2 or 3 weeks. So yeah, I don't mind Justin Haley there. I think we can argue, though, does Alex Bowman belong above Haley? That's the one I'm struggling with about where to put your guy Bowman. Number 1 in average finish here. Number 1 in average starting position here. 4 straight top 10s here. Didn't race last year, though, Elliot, at this track. And that's the only variable we have. That was Noah Gragson that day.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like the biggest reason that he wasn't already on the board is I was seeing the hold back, see if you would pick him, because I feel like me picking Bowman is a hell of a lot less. It means more coming from somebody who's not a fan of the 48 car, basically. So obviously the numbers here are good for Bowman. He didn't run here last year, but not running at tracks here last year and this year hasn't really affected him in some other races. So I'm not expecting anything different. I'm expecting a good top 10 run out of the 48 team.
He's safe, 7,700. Like, he's safe in that mid tier. Yeah. He is one of my favorite plays.
Really attractive with his history at the Roval. I'm sure we'll talk about him a good bit in the props, but Bowman definitely underrated. If his price was a little higher and more reflective of how he'd done at the Roval the last couple of years, he'd probably be a couple spots lower.
Yep.
It's much less certain, but in this case, I think this is a fair spot for him.
Elliot, we got about 3, 4, maybe 5 playoff drivers still out there. Do any of them belong in B tier, or do you want to drop down?
I mean, it's tough. I'm almost tempted to throw Hamlin in the Bs, but he's already all but locked in, and he's not a super strong road course guy. But I just feel like having the pressure off, maybe he'll go out there and throw out a nice little 7th place, just be in having fun, mixing it up.
If you want to throw Hamlin in there, you have to throw MTJ as well, his teammate. MTJ 6 in the total speed rankings on the road courses this season, folks. So he's been around. He has a couple outlier races where he's been absolutely terrible. That was Coda, wasn't very good there. Indy road course, but one Sonoma, mixed it up at Watkins Glen. So I like MTJ a little bit here, and I think Hamlin, just given his pedigree in general, belongs here. Anyone else in B? Because I think there's one other guy we could maybe make the case for.
Who are you thinking? Because I can't think of anybody.
Joey Logano. Joey Logano is very, very good here. It's more of a pedigree thing. 4th in average finishing, 4 top 10s here, 5 top 20s in his 5 appearances. So consistency. It's not sexy, but who wants to play Joey Logano this week? Nobody. And at 8,200, yes, would I rather drop down a little bit more and grab myself a Ty Gibbs? Certainly. But I think if you want to mix and match with your Lions, Joey Logano is not a bad play at 8,200.
Yeah, I think you're right. He's just been a coin flip on road courses and obviously not in the playoffs anymore, so less motivation there. But I'm okay with the 22 being a B minus, but I think it is time to crack open the C's now. And I'll put Kyle Busch up here. Obviously not the strongest road course pedigree. Obviously not the strongest run the last couple of weeks this year. But I just have that gut feeling this week that, does he advance? Probably not.
Yeah.
Does he go balls to the wall, have a good setup, run better than we think this weekend? I do think that's going to be the case for the 8 car. I think we're going to see one last little beacon of hope out of that 8 this year. They're going to be eliminated by the end of it anyway, but they're not going to go out quietly.
Yeah, do not go quiet into that good night, Kyle Busch. We hope he can keep fighting. And what about Ross Chastain? Does he belong here in this one as well?
I don't
He
hate.
was a guy started top 10 here last year and just really didn't have the car. Finished 37th, got involved in a wreck early like Ross does so many times. But you can't count out this guy, man. Like in these elimination races, especially, this is when I expect him to not take the strategy to win. I expect Ross to be up there trying to get stage points, just like he was last week when he had an unfortunate bounce and bounced right off a couple guys into the wall. So, yeah, give me some Ross in a do or die situation.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with your Trackhouse theme and throw the 99 to Daniel Suarez up here. He's a guy that's almost, I want to say almost forgotten on road courses. He got that Sonoma and then has kind of been back and forth. But he was as fast as it got at the Indy Road Course on the speed ranking. And short of a pit penalty, could have very well stolen McDowell's thunder and maybe would still be alive in the playoffs with a good break in the first round there. So I've got Suarez is another guy that it's about 30% stats and 70% gut feeling, kind of like Kyle Busch for me this week.
Yeah, Suarez has been so hit or miss on these road courses this season. It's crazy. Like had top 10 speed, 6 total speed at Coda, Sonoma 24th. We know he broke a shifter. I think that was last year in one of these races. It might have been this race. I don't remember. One of them, he broke the shifter. Indy Road Course, though, was the fastest car on the track. And then 26 at Watkins Glen. Like, it's been a roller coaster. But Daniel Suarez is always a threat here when you come to these road courses. So I don't mind that pick at all here, Elliot. Throw Blaney up. Throw Bubba up. I just think give them respect for being in the playoffs. I really have nothing else on those guys though here. They're kind of just middle of the road drivers when it comes to road course this season. Honestly, I don't know what it is, but Penske has to figure something out on these road courses. Like they've kind of underperformed this entire year, including Cindric, who was a stud at road courses not that long ago.
Oh, but you know what the good news for Penske is that this is the last road course race, and their only driver that's still in the playoffs is already locking in the next round.
Yes.
So they don't really need to give a fuck about road courses the rest of the year, which I think is part of what makes Blaney a C- here. He could go out and run third. He could go out and run 23rd, and it wouldn't surprise me. The 23 of Bubba Wallace, though, I'll bump him at least ahead of Blaney because Bubba Wallace was all but a joke on road courses, even at the beginning of his tenure with 2311. I remember him going out there and running Xfinity races just because, he would admit it himself. He's just fucking woeful at road courses. Has gone out there the last couple of times and put out respectable enough runs with the pressure on him. Indy road course, respectable finish in the mid-teens. Same at Watkins Glen. And I think they're going to want to pump it up because they obviously need to advance in the playoffs. But I think that Bubba on road courses is not the same shitter that he used to be. We'll just say that.
Yeah. Give Bubba some respect, man, and I think he's gonna pull it together here as is another elimination race for him as well. So I like Bubba, and you can tell me where we should put him. But the next driver up for me is the number 14 card, Chase Briscoe. I know he fucked us over last week on the betting card, but he was a pretty good fantasy play nonetheless. And finished 9th here last season, and I don't think that was really a fluke either. Elliot had some good total speed, and was a top 5 in green flag speed as well. So I like the 14 a little bit as a leverage play. I don't think a lot of people are going to be jonesing to play Chase Briscoe, but it wasn't that long ago in the Xfinity series that he was duking it out with AJ and Cindric and was a really good road course ringer.
Yeah, the thing with Briscoe is it feels like the Indy road course is the only one that he's super duper strong at. His home race and everything. I think everywhere else he's kind of middling to sucky on the road courses. So, C- is kind of where I had him. I maybe would have been tempted to put him in the D with somebody like Harvick or something like that. But he is respectable enough that I think a C- play, probably relatively cheap price over there on DraftKings. He could definitely be worth just a little sniff maybe at the back of a lineup or two.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead. Let's drop down to the D's then. And Elliot, I'll give the floor to you. Is there a driver, 2 or 3, anyone that you belong here as we kind of get into this next, just all right tier?
I mean, I mentioned Harvick. I think maybe he's worth being in the D's, but also, I mean, just SHR has just been woeful across the board. He obviously hasn't run the Roval as much as any other place. You know, the road course speed ranking, not spectacular for him. Any argument to him being in the D's, though, I think he's still decent enough to make
No,
respectable.
not at all, man. Kevin Harvick actually ran really well here. He was third before all that chaos happened, finished second here to Chris Bell amidst all the chaos. So
I didn't remember that at all. So.
yeah, like again, that was his last good road course, though. You know what I mean? He has been very bad on him this season. Yeah, I think Kevin Harvick belongs there. Throw Eric Jones up there as well. Was digging into some of Eric Jones numbers here. I'm actually going to fade him in the betting portion of the program. But still 12th in total speed ranking, finished 11th here last season. So I don't mind a little Eric Jones, at least for D's. Like, you know, we're getting down here.
Yeah, I mean, we're really getting into slim pickings here. And we're getting there pretty quick. Talladega, we were able to put almost everybody on the board. Here, we might have 8 guys off the board here. It's starting to get tough. Any love for Zane Smith in the 38? I mean, he's got his cup ride announced. Front row's good at road courses. Any love for him?
Yeah. Honestly, yeah. I'm gonna be playing him in a couple lineups because I need the salary relief with Zane Smith down at 6,200. So in that tier, I think he is almost my favorite in that tier, Elliot. So yeah, I don't mind him. This is the farthest and we've ever had the 17 and the 6 from each other. Yeah. So maybe we're too low on the 6. I would almost maybe.
Brad's a shitty road course driver. I mean, at the beginning of his career, you know, he won a few there with Penske, but it just hasn't been there with RFK.
Yeah, especially this season, he's been really bad on him as well. Last year,
25th in the series in total speed ranking, and his best was 18th at the Glen.
But he did
really stands out here for Brad.
2 things for Brad, though. I think 1, 12th. Finished 12th here last year. It was fluky. He didn't have the speed by any means. The other thing is like this is another guy who needs stage points. Like he's gonna go. He's not trying to win this race at all. Brad K is gonna be up there trying to score points, which scores you fantasy points as well. So I think that's why I like Brad a little bit. But at the price tag he's coming in at, it's 7,200. He's right there with Bubba, Chase Briscoe, Eric Jones. Like it's the lowest we've seen Brad in almost all season, but I don't know if I can, it's still tough.
Yeah, it's real tough. And I don't know that we have anybody else to put in the D's.
No, let's drop down.
I got a couple guys here. I'm thinking Cindric is going to be the first guy in the F's for me, though. I mean, we've already had our Austin Cindric rants on this show.
Yep.
But at the road, I mean, arguably the road courses are still probably his best track generally, but it's just been poor for him across the board. You almost have to put him in the same tier as like a front row car the way he's run this year. But I think, I think he's worth the F there, even taking that into account.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
This is F for a reason.
Yeah, this might be the toughest. Mike Rockefeller, throw him out here.
My other guy who I was thinking about. And Legacy has run so well with Hocevar. It's a matter of, is Hocevar a great driver, or do they have a little bit of life in their cars with Rockefeller? Obviously, he's experienced in other forms of racing. Was respectable enough at Indy Road Course, despite what, like Chase Elliott fans would tell you. 42 could be one to watch in the Fs as well.
Yeah. Don't mind him. 6,500, Ricky Stenhouse. He at least deserves to be ranked. Finished 19th here. Has looked better at road courses this season. Like he's definitely been practicing in the sim a little bit on these. So give him Ryan Preece.
That's what I was about to bring up. I just looked over to my left here. 18th or 17th in the series in total road course speed ranking.
Yeah, man. And Ryan Preece has showed up over the last month or two. I don't know if he announced that he has finalized his deal to be back in this ride yet. I think he did. He? Okay. I couldn't remember. If that was...
Big press release. He just said it on Sirius XM when he was asked, and that was about all they had to say about it. So.
Okay. Yeah. So happy for that. But he's been racing really good the last month or so. Very much in the top 20 most of these races. So I like him a little bit.
There,
Hey,
we can stay. Oh, go ahead. Do you have somebody else?
no, I was just gonna say, what a call on Ty Dillon for me last week. Like that was the only time you could play Ty Dillon at all.
He got stage points, I think, in one of the stages, didn't he? I don't know
Yeah,
where,
he did. He finished 27th. And he started. Oh, I don't know what the starting position was. I think it was like 38. So he got you some points, man. Like
stage points and differential points for the most useless car in the garage all year is pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, but with that said, I got nothing on the rest of these guys.
Any thought to ranking Eric Almirola in the 10? Maybe.
Let's see.
He's near the bottom at the road course speed rankings. Mostly, I just wanted to use this. You mentioned silly season for the 41. Almirola still is like, the media is asking him, "Are you going to come back next year?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't fucking know. I don't." The guy runs like shit 34 weeks out of 36. And like Stuart Haas could do something with this car. They could lock up a good young driver or something. He's very lucky that he's got that Smithfield money, because otherwise, if I was a guy like Tony Stewart, I'm like, dude, you got to figure this out. Like, it's October.
Yeah.
Figure, are you coming back or not? You're going to play strings with us again for another year. Like, thank God you're bringing all this money in, because you sure as shit aren't putting out the product on the racetrack.
Yeah. Couple thoughts on Eric Almirola now. You bring him up. Yes, stop fucking with SHR. That's kind of annoying.
Stop fucking with us. I want to see them pick another good young driver like Priest to be in the car instead of his dumbass for another year to go out there and be 26 in the points again.
Yeah, it's been a bad season for him. However, I will say he does have 4 top 20s at this track. Best finish 14th so that's your ceiling pretty much for him. However, let's not forget this guy won a road course earlier this season. It wasn't in this series, but he did win a road course. Put Eric Almirola on the board, baby. Good sell on him, Elliot. I kind of like that actually. It's a nice, like, I know on fan tracks he's really low on fan tracks, like 13 or 14. So he might be worth a look there. Still a little high, I think for me. 6,000. 6,000 on DraftKings. That's okay. Like him or Zane Smith is pretty much what you're looking at. I think I might take Almirola in that.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we have Zane in the D's and Almirola in the F, so that's a pretty clear who you picking over another.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. Elliot, give us your one word on the rest of these before we get into some betting.
Yeah, I mean, Austin Dillon, I have considered putting him on the board. I mean, 15th ranking. I think you're fading him? No?
Fade Austin Dillon. This is like his worst year ever. He has been so bad. I don't know what happened if all Grandpa's money just went to Kyle. It's been bad.
I don't know. I'm going to usurp you and put him at the end of the F's here, but none of the other guys should be on the board. Corey LaJoie, road courses aren't necessarily his strength. Andy Lally in the 15. This is another situation with both Lally and I guess Todd Gilliland in the 51. I don't know if I've said this on the show before or not, but Rick Ware putting guys who are experienced at certain racetracks into those cars to, give them the best data they can. Obviously, Andy Lally, you're going to get a better idea of how good you're running on a road course than you are with JJ Yaley. And you're going to get better thoughts of Yaley at a dirt track or a short track, or Ryan Newman or Cole Custer than you will from a Lally on an oval. It's neat to see him rotating a little bit, because next year they're taking it seriously. They're getting Justin Haley in there. They're going to get another good driver in one of their cars, I'm sure, or just keep the rotating up. They're taking it seriously. So just like Spire, I'm proud of them.
Yeah, they need to get a real driver in their second car. Like, even if it's going to be JJ for the full season, that's fine, but commit to someone. But yeah, I love Andy Lally in the booth. So unfortunately, we don't have that this week, but we do have him in the car. So that's cool.
Yeah, I remember at COTA, I was like, man, Andy Lally, tier F, give him a shot at the top 10, and he ran like shit all day. So can't do that anymore. Harrison Burton, never been the best road course driver. Bottom of the chart here for speed ranking.
Yep.
Austin Hill in the 62. I really don't know why they're running this race. Have they run anything other than a super speedway like all year? They've run maybe Atlanta's super speedway now. I don't know. I'll have to look at that, but I don't know what they're doing here.
I don't. My thoughts on this team. I don't know why they do a lot of the things. Just pulled out of Talladega last week as well. So
yeah, they pulled out of Talladega, but that was Austin Hill's choice. So I guess it's just Austin Hill had the race in his back pocket with the sponsorship and was like, "Fuck it, let's go run the Roval." Eventually, he'll be in Cup. Eventually, he'll have to run it more often. Throw him in there. Ty Dillon, we already talked about Ty Dillon. Josh Bilicki in the 78. We already had our Live Fast soapbox last week. It'll be nice to see them around sometimes. Good for, hopefully Bilicki gets a little share of that money too. Maybe they're paying him a little more this week with their new fortune that BJ and Tiff have over there.
Yeah, they got the fucking bag, bro. Like, congrats to them on just like not only like making one of the biggest sales in NASCAR history, but also for a charter system that who knows what's going to be around here when the TV rights deal is up. So good on you, BJ. Good on you, BJ and Matt. Good play. Unfortunately, you're not ranked in tire tiers.
No, and I mean they've only been maybe twice all year, but hey, BJ can buy some nicer bandanas to throw around at the racetrack. So good for him.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. What do you say, Ellie? Let's go ahead jump into a little parking garage props action, talk some betting for the Roval.
Yep, we've looked at the DFS. Let's take a look at the money now. I meant to say money line. Obviously, you can still win DFS, but you guys got it. It's late here. Backroad after dark.
Oh, we're ready to rip here. And Elliot, looking at the books this week, it was very interesting because I get that Chase Elliott, the most winning driver in NASCAR currently on these road courses, and was winning this race last season, was going to make it 3 for him at the Roval. But 6-1, kind of a tough price to swallow. Same with other guys. Like I was looking at some data earlier in the week before the odds were even out. I said, kind of like William Byron this week. And then I saw the number of 7-1. I said, I can't get behind that either. But after those top 3 or 4 guys, there's a little bit of value down the board. So just overall impressions this week of what we were getting.
Yeah, I mean, over on Caesars, I noticed that you've got your 7 to 12 favorites to win the race. The guys that are normally up front, the guys that are studs in the playoffs. And then you got a pretty big drop off. So if it's not one of those upper echelon guys, there's some money to be made on a couple of long shots here. And that's across the board too. Top 3, top 5s, top 10s, some specials, some matchups. The books are actually relatively favorable if you're expecting that it's not going to go the same way it seems to always go on normal road courses. And as we know, the Roval in a playoff elimination round is anything but a normal NASCAR Cup Series road course race.
Yes. Yep. A lot of tempers will be hot and heated here. Let's talk about outrights then. Who is your favorite outright on the board? As you said, after you kind of get past the first little wave here, it gets interesting.
Yeah, so there were a couple of halfway intriguing guys up in that upper echelon. Larson's a plus 850. I don't hate that number. Micah McDowell was boosted to plus 1,000 on Caesars. My outright of the week is Daniel Suarez at plus 1,800. And, obviously the road course numbers are there. I also was going to use a little bit of a soapbox for silly season here. Suarez is a guy who's under pressure. Chastain has gone out there and won multiple times, is locked into that ride. Trackhouse has got more guys under contract the next couple of years, and they have seats. They're already loaning out Zane Smith, who we're expecting to be a top Cup Series prospect. They're loaning him out to Spire next year. They've got SVG on a development deal. Eventually, if he is succeeding enough on the ovals, they're going to bump him up.
Yeah.
A guy like Daniel Suarez, good racer, good guy, brings in good money. But it's just getting to victory lane when you have a guy who could become the hottest international prospect NASCAR's ever seen, and a guy who people underrated for years and years and years, finally being successful in the Cup Series. It's going to be time for Suarez to step it up at some point. That paint scheme this week is gorgeous. It's Minute Maid Aguas Frescas drink car.
Yeah.
Looks great. I picked one up. It's in my fridge. Picked one up at
Nice.
Walmart. I bet you it's going to taste real nice when I drink it. Maybe I'll crack it open and celebrate hitting the Daniel Suarez outright at the Roval.
Oh man, that was a great promo for Suarez there. I will say that. And like, we just need to see him competing in races because like last year we saw that a little bit out of Suarez. There was multiple times he almost won multiple races last year, even after he did win at Sonoma. So we've kind of just been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Maybe it's the time he shows up. I don't mind that play. My only outright that I am down on right now currently, head over to DraftKings actually this week for it. It's AJ Allmendinger, guys, 10-1 for me. I talked about him in the DFS tiers, how the 2 times he didn't have an engine failure here, one with JTG, one with colleague, both started top 10, both finished top 10 here. And last year in particular, he was by far the number 1 person in these loop data we're pulling. Number 1 in the total speed ranking, fastest late in the run, ran 100% of the laps in the top 15 and the number 1 in the driver rating as well. And he's been solid at least in speed, not finishes, but in speed across all the road courses plus Chicago 4th. So I think Allmendinger as 10-1. Talk about a guy who has a little bit of pressure, Elliot. Talk about a guy who has motivation to win. We have no idea what's happening with AJ Allmendinger, I feel like.
Yeah, and I haven't looked at the Xfinity entry list, but I'd be really surprised if he's not in that race too. So he's going to have the laps there, and he's always good here. This is one of his better road courses, and we've seen him win here before in Xfinity. Why not Cup?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a little dinger. Let's go to some placement props, Elliot. What are you looking at there? Some very intriguing options. Finally, a top 10 market that's worth a damn, in my opinion.
Yeah, the top 10 market, again, very top heavy in a sense of, paying juice on a bunch of the top guys, top 10 that I don't like. But again, value to be had. I'll start with the top 5 that I have. Denny Hamlin for a top 5 plus 210, plus 200. Not the sexiest pick. Again, not the best road course driver, but it does feel like one of those days where you're going to see some chaos around, and then you're going to see sort of the cream rise to the crop. I think that if Byron isn't the championship favorite, then Denny Hamlin definitely is. This is a guy who's feeling good constantly, week in, week out. Why couldn't he run better here? Already all but locked into the next round, and I think plus 50. Why not have him go out there, not worry about the pressures of having to run up front, but doing it anyway because he's been so damn good this year.
Yeah, and he's someone who will probably be on a different strategy potentially, who maybe isn't looking for stage points. So higher potential at the end of the race here. Like I like him better as a bet than I would in DFS, just because I think he's going to be around later in the race, maybe rather than earlier. So I don't mind that play. And I'm going to go with your boy here for my top 10 of the week. It's Alex Bowman plus 140 over at DraftKings again. Shout out DraftKings. They're finally getting back into things now.
That's better odds than he was on Caesars. He's plus 120 there. I have him on my board too.
Yeah, I got plus 140, best I could find while I was shopping him around. And this is a little bit about pedigree. It's really all about pedigree here. Number 1 in average finish, number 1 in starting position, 4 straight top 10s. And this is a race, like you look at that one with Noah Gragson. What did we learn? There's something about this 48 team and these Hendrick cars at the Roval that are just fucking awesome. Like Noah Gragson was running 9th before that late chaos last year. So like if that race stayed green, Noah Gragson probably had a top 10. And I don't think he had a top 10 when he was a full-time driver this year before he got suspended. So that tells me a lot about what could be in store for Alex Bowman here. I was very damn tempted to almost get on in the outright price as well, Elliot. And I might even still sprinkle something. 35-1 right now on FanDuel. So I think even if it's a 1/10 of a unit, I might throw it out on Alex Bowman here, because at that price tag, like to me, I don't see a huge difference between Bowman and Chase, except you're getting way more profitable odds here on Bowman.
And Chase has actually won at the Roval multiple times too.
Okay, well, yeah, he has won here, but Alex Bowman just as consistent, and Alex Bowman just as bad this year with leading laps and competing for races.
Yeah, and also, missing time with injuries doesn't help either of them either.
Yep.
But yeah, the 48 running well at the Roval, Hendrick running well at the Roval. In 2021, we saw both Bowman and Larson have issues in this race. It knocked Bowman out of the playoffs, and it damn near knocked Larson out of the playoffs in what became the season. So had it not been for those problems, it could have been a different story. And yeah, for some reason, Bowman at the Roval, he's been decent on road courses. Pretty damn spectacular here. I'm just too much of a cynic being a fan to go all in on, hey, these numbers look great. This guy could actually win the race. I don't see that happening, but I do like the top 10 number, and probably whatever his top 5 number is a lot. The only other top 10 I have on my board, Mike Rockenfeller just taking, the half-court shot at plus 750 for a top 10, just because Hocevar has shown he's been so impressive in the 42. It's a damn shame almost that they're moving to Toyota next year, because if they weren't, I think he would already have signed to be in this ride next year. But it's just they kept Jones on, and obviously John Hunter Nemechek is probably going to run really well in these cars. But I mean, damn, if Hocevar is all but in a Cup car next year, but if that doesn't work out, I'll be really surprised. He's really impressed. Rockefeller knows his shit on road courses. Maybe everything comes together and he gets in that top 10.
Yeah, I mean, if you were one of those guys last week who paid off and went with a Riley Herbst, a Justin Haley, an Austin Cindric, a LaJoy, someone kind of in this range with Rockefeller here for a top 10, you were profitable. So at a race, at a road course that tends to see a little bit of drama, especially now that we have some stage breaks back, taking a long shot, whether it's Rockefeller or someone else, I think is a smart idea. At least, get a little bit of a hedge in there. So I don't mind that play at all. Ready to move to matchups then, Elliot?
I think so.
Okay, all right. I want to start us out here. I talked about him earlier. I ranked him highly in DFS. It's Justin Haley -108 versus Eric Jones -121. To have Eric Jones favorited here, I think is not a great play by the books. I think we're sneaking one out on them, to be honest. Yeah. This is only at Bet Rivers too. I couldn't really find this. It might be at Caesars too, but I know it's at Bet Rivers.
But maybe I missed it.
Okay. Finished fifth and was fifth before the chaos last season. Second total speed ranking. Like, that's the best total speed ranking I think I've ever seen for Justin Haley. Number 2. I have to think that there's something about this track that he likes. He kind of has a couple of those tracks, if you remember, Elliot, like throughout the year, they're like, oh, damn, like Justin Haley's numbers pop here. This is one of them that they pop. So I feel like I'm going to follow that a little bit. Average position that race too last year, 6.2. That's the 4th best. So like, he was running up front all day. It wasn't a fluke. And we've already kind of touched on as well how he did at that Chicago street race. Haven't seen him perform at any of the other road courses this season. But Eric Jones, we haven't seen perform at any of the road courses this season as well. His numbers are actually worse on the total speed rankings across all those comp tracks than Justin Haley. Jones top 12 in total speed ranking, finished 11th. So I think that's the ceiling for Eric Jones. I think he could finish 12th, 11th, and maybe you lose the bet because of that. But I think there's a good shot Justin Haley's top 10 car here. And for almost even money, I'm willing to go with it.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. Definitely talk me into Haley there, especially with Jones's numbers and Jones being the favorite in there. I think you're right. Probably pulling a fast one. I've got a colleague-related matchup too, but I'm flipping the script on it. I'm going Michael McDowell at even money plus 100 over AJ Allmendinger -130. This is going to be one of the underrated, 4th to 8th places matchups that I feel like we'll be watching all day. And I think McDowell gets it past him. Allmendinger, obviously the speed's been there. Obviously he's come close to winning a few this year, but it's just one of those deals where I like the 34 more to do the 16 on road courses right now. So I'm going to take that and avoid the juice there, but I will take a nice big sip of juice here as we go down. Take a nice big sip of juice on Alex Bowman. -135 over Chase Briscoe at +105. Again, with Briscoe, he's a driver. It's just mostly at the Indy road course. I just don't see with Bowman and Briscoe's numbers here how the 48 doesn't finish in front of the 14.
Yeah, the 14's been pulling out some good finishes out of his ass lately, though. That's kind of the thing about it. He's been right around 10th or 12th the last couple of races. So that one's tough for me. I think I would take Bowman. I don't love the price tag on it, I think. But
that wasn't my favorite, but it's just one of those that you feel confident enough about. And as our guy Rod Villagomez says, you only pay the juice if you lose.
Yeah, and honestly too, like, you don't get too many bets these days with Bowman. So like in a head-to-head matchup. So cool to see that offered out there. Books did a really nice job with the matchups this week. Saw some good variants, which was nice. I'm gonna go back to a Dinger related matchup, and I'm gonna take Dinger here. Just because, that's my guy this week. I'm riding or dying with AJ Allmendinger. Going off at -115 a piece versus Ty Gibbs. I've seen this on a couple books. And we've talked about Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs has been very solid, number 5 across all the road courses this season in the total speed rankings, including Chicago. AJ's been better, though. AJ's been faster, and I think I'm taking AJ's pedigree here more than Gibbs. Gibbs only has one race in a cup car here, 16th in total speed ranking, finished 22nd last year. Of course, he was running for Kurt Busch at that point, but I'm really going to back AJ here. I think AJ's the play, and not seeing a lot of matchups I do like with AJ, but I think over the young guy, I like him.
Yeah, that's definitely a good play. I would take Allmendinger in that matchup, just not against the 34 car.
Okay. All right. That's everything I have here, Ellie. Do you have any other specials, any other head-to-heads, groups that you can throw out for us? I will say I was trying to bet Chevy, but it's at minus money for Chevy already, and I don't know if I can get behind that.
Yeah, no specials on your board. I thought there were a couple of decent offerings this week, but hey, I'll take the floor. I'm the specials guy.
Yeah, what do you got?
Anytime that a manufacturer is minus money, I think it's fucking ridiculous. So Chevy being minus money, minus 115.
There's so many good Chevys, though.
There's so many good Chevys, but this happened, I think, at the Glen, and I said the same thing. I said, this is fucking ridiculous. Take Ford, take Toyota. Chris Buescher won that race. Ford was the longest odds then. Toyota plus 260. Toyota, you get Red. Toyota, you get all the Gibbs guys. Toyota, you get Bubba Wallace. That is all you get. But
that's the issue.
Out of those 6 guys, I can see maybe pulling out a win. And I wouldn't put anything against the freaking Bubba Wallace with how motivated he is to go out there and get shit done. And Ford at plus 290, you get RFK, you get McDowell.
I can't, yeah.
That one's a little tougher. But just anytime manufacturers minus money, it's just like, I get it. But, I mean, oh, my God. Like, for real. There's favorites and there's guys who can easily win races in all 3 manufacturers. So that just seems like such a slam dunk to avoid minus money on a manufacturer.
Yeah, if it was even plus 105, plus 110, I think I would actually or even money.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't get down at minus money, even though I love the Toyotas, because Tyler Reddick is a threat. Can I throw one out to you that I couldn't get behind, but maybe now I am. You've smoothed over Reddick a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, this is just as much a, hey, we're betting this, as well as, hey, let's discuss these bets. At least that's the way I look at it, especially with just a 2-person show, a little more time to riff, So we don't have to bet everything we throw out there, but we're pretty confident about a lot of it, or at least talking it through.
Yeah, I typically, everything that I bring up on this show, I do typically bet this, but I do think there's a lot of value in just talking about them, getting both sides of it. There's an 8-1 out there for AJ Allmendinger and Tyler Reddick to finish top 3. I didn't like I didn't like Reddick's finishes enough at these road courses. He's been too hit or miss, and AJ's been a little hit or miss too, and that's why I feel like 8-1 was a really solid offering, but I don't know if I can get behind it. Can you talk me in or out of that?
I mean, getting 2 of the top 3, especially at that number, I mean, I can see how it's attractive, but if it was like, say that's a plus 550 for top 5, that is an absolute slam dunk, yes. But
yeah, that's how I felt.
Plus 800, bump it up to plus 1500, and I'm like, fuck yeah. But
yeah,
really doubling the bet there, so I can see why they're not doing that for 2 of the favorites. But
yeah, yep. Okay, that
your instinct is correct there, I think.
All right, well, I'm glad you talked me off the ledge there a little bit, because I think I'm with you. Predicting the top 3, if you're going to do that, you might as well get into the exactas and the quinillas and that type of stuff.
Exactly, right. And those are a hell of a lot more fun, because those are a hell of a lot longer odds too. So
yeah, exactly.
I should have looked up those odds, Reddick first, Dinger second, what the exacta is on that.
Yeah.
Could be some big money, but also probably that's about the shortest number on that board.
Yeah. What else do you have for us, Elliot? Close it out.
An outright special, another one with F1. Larson winning the Roval, which I did bring up my outrights, and Max Verstappen, the guy who wins every goddamn week in Formula One, winning again.
Has he lost yet?
A couple of weeks ago, I should remember this because I've been trying to get more into F1 recently, but a couple of weeks ago, he did not win. I think his teammate, Sergio Perez, won. Sorry for not knowing F1 and bringing up an F1 bet, but he's the favorite, every week. I think he only needs like 3 points in all the shit they do this weekend to clinch the championship. So it's just one of those deals where it's like, this guy wins every week. He's not going to clinch the title and then finish second, I feel like, So that is a plus 1,200. Larson winning the Roval, obviously the stretch there, but definitely something I can see happen.
Carlos Sainz Jr. was the other winner recently.
He's the other Red Bull car, I think.
No, I think he's actually on I think he's actually on a different team, but Sergio Perez is his teammate. You are right on that.
As soon as I got off this show, my ass is getting chewed out so hard if somebody's watching. So sorry for that. But all right, let's go back to NASCAR now, the one that I do know. Just a couple of top manufacturer bets I threw out there. Top Chevy KFB at plus 700. I think he's going balls to the wall this week. Top Ford Chris Buescher plus 475. That's a damn good number for a guy who's gone out there and won road course races this year. Top Toyota Christopher Bell plus 500. Again, won this race last year. We've got him in the A Series, our top Toyota on the board this week. So look at us go. We made that bet happen. Race go to overtime. Yes, plus 300. I think having the caution at the stage breaks bunches the field up. So I think race to go to overtime at plus 300. Pretty good number. And then Group E, another Larson bet. Larson at plus 320. He's the longest odds against Chase Elliott plus 185. Tyler Reddick plus 230 and William Byron plus 250. I kind of like the 5 car there.
That's
your best 4 cars this week, but
yeah, I do not like that last bet, but I do like those. I love the overtime bet that you threw out. I didn't even see that this week. That's a great number for this race, I think, especially with those stage breaks. It gets more and more likely. So I don't mind that number at all. And then you said Chris Buescher, top 4. What was that? 4.5 to 1?
4 plus 475. So pretty close. Yeah.
Okay, man. Yeah. And you said the Reddick top Toyota was what one more time?
That was top Toyota Christopher Bell at plus 500.
Okay.
I ran through that pretty quick. I figured we would just run through them, here, but I don't know if I got cut off in the middle of that. Gotta love the connection issues here on live television.
No, all good, man. All good. I think you came in loud and clear, and some really interesting bets out there. I think that's pretty much everything, though. I think we pretty much covered it. Any final thoughts here?
Don't believe so. I think it's been. I feel more confident in our numbers this week than I have in quite a while. So I feel like this is a good week to make money for us.
Let's do it, baby. Want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. If you guys can support Ellie and I, the easiest way to do that is hitting subscribe, giving us a like on this video. I know it sounds trivial, but it really does help us continue to grow and have more time to bring you guys some kick-ass content. We're going to have a lot of stuff coming on over on the site this week as well. Over on the weekend, the DFS tiers, Elliot's article on some new stuff coming to NASCAR here, some new tracks, what we have looking forward to in 2024. And eventually, we got a video game to talk about, too. We're going to have to talk about that news as well.
Right. Yeah, if you didn't hear, I don't know if everyone here is into video games. But so obviously back when we were kids, EA Sports had the NASCAR license because EA Sports just made sports games when we were kids. That's just how it went. That went away more than a decade ago.
Oh, yeah.
It bounced around to a couple of different places. In the past few years has been with a place called Motorsport Games, 704 Games, who made the NASCAR Heat games, and NASCAR 21 Ignition, which I never bought it, and nobody really should have because it was just absolutely horrible, to the point where they then released a 2022 patch for NASCAR Heat 5 that then broke the game, took away some of our paid content, and just generally also doesn't work. They finally ran out of money. They said, fuck this. We are selling our NASCAR license to iRacing, which, of course, that's the best. You went from the worst of the worst to the best of the best. iRacing, obviously, it's the sim that everybody uses. It's the sim that they did real races on during the pandemic and still tried to do after the pandemic. iRacing is the best of the best, and they are planning to put out a NASCAR console game in 2025. So I don't know about you, Seth, but it's going to be time for me to update my console by then, get off of the PS4, go to that PS5 4 years late, just like I do with every other system, and go hard in that game. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to waste a lot of my time come 2025.
Giddy the fuck up. I hope my schedule is less busy than it is now, because I agree. I'm going to be getting the fuck up on that. Hope to see some of the IBT family over there as well in a couple years, tearing it up here on the virtual side of things.
It'll be a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun for sure.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming down the back road with Ellie and I. Ellie, it's been a blast, and looking forward to these last couple of races, making people hopefully some more money here as we close the book on what's been a really fun 2023 NASCAR Cup season. Yep, we're rolling to the end of it, and thanks for rolling down the back road with us. Best of luck on your Roval bets, and we'll see you again this time, or maybe a little earlier, hopefully, next week.